One thing that changed for my critical thinking skills is being aware that it's okay to be skeptical of the textbook, which is just not something I had encountered at all until this class. When you would say that you disagree with the Freudian idea of what a dream is, or when you said you didn't like, that chapter about sleep, and that it allowed us to look at the book not as a law, this is what psychology is, but these are ideas and theories, and they're backed up by experiments. But as I learned in the replication um, chapter, that not all the experiments are valid, and that's definitely something new that I will take in the future. I haven't encountered it yet because it's the only class I'm taking right now, but in my future classes, to understand that when something is presented to me, to know that I can do research on my own to see if that is a full story or if it's just like a bias that the textbook has. And I think another good example that taught me that was the autism video, because first we watched one in facilitated communication where it just completely changed this girl's life and it gave her a voice, and then we watched the video on how it can be distorted and how it can cause a lot of issues in families with autistic children. And that was also just very eye-opening to see that something that was presented first that looked amazing has another story to it. So just continue to use that, when I go into my biology classes or my chemistry classes and they talk about things that might be, changing things in a better way, to understand that there's usually a downside and that I should know about the downside before I make decisions on what I believe is right and wrong in the science field. So I just think this idea that there is ethics in science is this is the first class that I was presented that, and I think it's a very important concept to keep in mind as I go through my science class. Remember is that there's an ethics side too, which is something that you introduced to me. I really found the autism, not, it wasn't a chapter, but it was a topic, very interesting because I never really studied anything or learned anything about it, but in your day-to-day life you encounter people with autism or other disabilities, and I think it's really important to be aware of what's going on in the world, and it's rising, so it's something that we're going to be presented with more and more often. Like the other day at work at John Bajus, a autistic, he was like a teenage boy came in, and he had his facilitator with him, and he had this kind of laminated plastic thing where he would point to letters like we learned about with their facilitated communication, and he was able to order a smoothie, and I just was really grateful that I knew what was going on, that I understood the process that he was going through, so I wasn't staring what's going on, this person is weird, which I feel like some people who don't know about autism, about their communication, can be insensitive to. But I was just able to watch and to learn how this person thinks, and it was really interesting. And it was just a really cool experience to see what I'm learning in class in real life, to see someone look at me in the eyes, but at the same time they're able to point at letters of what they want. That just was really crazy to me, that he had such good multitasking abilities. I don't think I could do that. And I just knew a little bit about it because of this class. One of the biggest challenges with this course was to have something due almost every single day. For a week during this course, I went up to Mammoth, and during that time I hiked Whitney, and it was just very challenging to come back from practice hikes where I was really tired and have to do something that day, or when I was in a little motel to find good Wi-Fi so I can do the tasks. And I know that you could do it beforehand, but I just got into that routine of not doing it beforehand and doing it the day it was due. So yeah, just having something due every day was a challenge because that's not something I had in my other classes, but also in a way it was good because it kind of created a time block. I wasn't working on this class for hours one day and none the other day. It was an hour every day, which is challenging when I had something to do that day, but it was also good for time management. I think you had us make these videos because in a class that's not an online class, there's a lot of face-to-face interaction, even though there is homework and papers or whatever. A lot of it is discussions in class and vocalizing your opinion, and videos are a good way to do that because when you write something, it's something a lot more structured and a lot more thought out. Not that the videos aren't thought out, but I feel like it's an opportunity for you to learn how to speak as you would in class, but to have a little bit more time to practice it and to better your oral presentation skills. Like I know for me in class, I'm never scared to raise my hand, but I also never really have like concrete ideas. I kind of just raise my hand and want to be a part of the discussion. But when we make these videos, you have to have more of a concrete idea. So it was a cool place to meet in the middle between just class participation, where you just kind of raise your hand, say what you're thinking, or a paper where it's really structured and well thought out and researched. And you come together and make this video where, yes, you did research or you did think about it, but it's not like as structured as a paper would be. It's more of the way you think and the way you naturally talk, which I think is important to learn how to do that in like an academic setting without it being as academic as a paper. And I just want to add that it did help me with my presentation skills, because usually, even though these videos were still a little jumbled in my thought, it's a lot more jumbled. And I kind of just sometimes say things that don't make sense, and I had to work on that to just make sense when I make these videos and cut a little bit more to the chase, because that's not something I usually do. And now that this class is wrapping up, I'm gonna pretty much continue what I've been doing. I work at Jamba Juice, like I mentioned, and I also work at an OBGYN office. And also this summer, I was training for Mount Whitney. And now that this class is over and Whitney is over, I'll probably have to find something new to fill my time, and I'm thinking that's probably just gonna be like surfing and running plus my jobs. I'm kind of sad the class is over because I love learning, and it was nice to be able to learn something interesting like psychology that was rigorous, but it wasn't like chemistry where no matter how hard I tried, I just never really understood it. So to have something I could learn that I could, wrap my mind around. And just like to end this video with a thank you. I really appreciated all the comments you would put on the things I turned in, to understand what I did wrong, which is really important for me when I learn, not to just, get a 3 out of 4 for no reason, but to understand like why it is I got that, and so I can correct what I'm thinking and in the future do better.